Welcome to the Felixstowe news coverage of the Police and Crime Commissioner election happening on the 5th of May 2016. We have given all of the candidates an open-ended interview, recorded their words, and now here's the first one out of the bag. Existing Commissioner and candidate for election, Tim Passmore, Conservative.
I was leader of Mid Suffolk District Council for 8 years, but my main formative years were spent in the farming business. I was an intensive livestock producer since 1982. I did an agriculture degree down at White College. And we had a pretty substantial pig business. We did decide to close that down, largely because of the effects of foot and mouth. But at the same time, I'd done an awful lot of advisory work all over the world, looking at farming programs, genetic breeding programs, from as far away as the Philippines, Japan, Brazil, North and South America and Europe. And in the last few years, while I was at Mid Suffolk District Council as the leader, I did quite a lot of grants and worked with the rural economy, farming businesses, and one of the things I did do was help get a large grant for the reintroduction of hop production, that's hops for beer, for the first time in Suffolk for about 150 to 200 years. Fascinating crop. Other things, I'm still a very active rugby union referee, level 7 on the Eastern Counties panel. I ran a scout group for 25 years in I was born in Felixstowe, of course, which I think people here might like to know. One Cliff Road, in a house that was probably about a quarter of the size of it is now. And we now live up in Mid Suffolk, and I've been doing this role now for 3.5 years. It came from the replacement of the old police authority, and one of the first things that I really would like to point out to people, because I don't have a deputy, the cost of myself, and I get an allowance of £70,000, which I know a lot of people would give their left arm to have, but I would like to remind everybody that is over £100,000 per year less than the old police authority. So A, it's cheaper, that's just for starters for 10, but one of the main things, and one I'm really, really proud and privileged to have had this role, the first Police and Crime Commissioner here in Suffolk, is because it gives you a chance to represent Suffolk, the county of my birth and where I've lived all my life so far, and it's all about putting Suffolk's interests first. So it's not just about policing, it's about crime prevention. One of the other things that I'm really, really proud of is the fact that we ring-fence the crime disorder and reduction grant. I actually took that decision. That's £700,000 a year, and that's used to support the voluntary sector all over Suffolk. And I just want to make it quite clear, if we did not have such a thriving voluntary sector here in Suffolk, our life here in this wonderful county really would be impoverished. If I look at other achievements, we've managed to put extra resources into roads policing, rural crime. We've changed the pattern of speeding enforcement, which comes up at just about every meeting I go to. I hope we've raised the profile of what I'm here to do, which is to actually act in the public interest, representing the public for £120 million of their taxes that they pay for policing in this county, to make sure it is efficient and effective. In the legislation, it says quite clearly the Police and Crime Commissioner is responsible for the totality of policing. But I do want to make it very clear, I'm not there to interfere in the operational independence of the Chief Constable. That's set out in the policing protocol. The Chief Constable, quite rightly, has operational independence. So I'm there to hold him to account, look after the public interest, and the other great thing about this role is that we're able to customise policing resources for what we need here in Suffolk, which I hope you would all agree is not the same as in the middle of Wales or Manchester, Birmingham or London, so we can have our own way of doing it. And perhaps one of the other things I really would mention, it's about Suffolk's sovereignty and independence. We collaborate widely, nationally and across the region, but at the basics, I can absolutely assure everybody, if I'm re-elected on May the 5th, which I really hope I will be, Suffolk Constabulary remains an independent and sovereign force. We keep our identity. That is not up for negotiation. It really isn't. One of the first things I said, Chris, when I was elected back in 2012 was that it's about a fairer distribution of resources right across the county. I'm here to represent the whole of Suffolk, not just Ipswich or Lowestoft or other vested interests, and I've done that to the very best of my ability. I've tried very hard not to make it a political issue in any shape or form. And it is about a redistribution of resources. Of course our county town and the bigger settlements and their different crime patterns and so on need to have the adequate resources, but we mustn't forget people who live in towns, as you say, like Felixstowe, Stowmarket or Beccles or Haverhill and so on, and the vast rural areas we have, and that's why we've now got 2 rural policing crime teams. I organise that when I was elected. That wouldn't have happened otherwise. Big expansion of the Special Constabulary. The redesign of the Safer Neighbourhood teams is about making sure that the changing pattern of crime, with so much more now being done online, using modern technology. I mean, I'd never heard of things like cyber stalking or hate crime and things like this, but these are serious issues. And the dreadful issues of domestic abuse. Did you know that is nearly 10% of the calls to the control room are on domestic abuse? It's a brutal, dreadful crime, and it has simply got to be tackled. So I think what I've been able to do in the last 3.5 years is provide a bit of a change of direction for the constabulary, supporting them. We're very, very lucky we live in such a safe area, and they do a really good job, the constabulary. Having said that, of course, there's always room for improvement to make things better and more efficient and more effective. And the Chief Constable and I, of course, are united as one. It's about what can we do to make Suffolk an even better place than it is. So we're on the case, and I would like another 4 years to continue with that work. I've got the experience. I also have the time and the energy and the commitment. And it's one heck of a big area to cover. It is not a job for a part-timer or anyone who thinks they can just do it every now and again. It's full-on, non-stop. If you look on my website, Tim for PCC Suffolk, just Google that and you'll find it. There is a really good programme, what I would think, for the next 4 years. We do need to resolve this issue about Magistrates Court. I think the government is totally wrong with Ministry of Justice. I've actually got a meeting with them next week with the Minister. That needs to be sorted out. We will come up with an alternative system. We've got to do more on prison reform. It's absolutely ridiculous that people who've been inside with a custodial sentence 7, 8, 9 times before they're age of 30, are then released. It doesn't work. It costs £40,000 per place, and I know, having employed people with a criminal record beforehand, if you give them a chance with a carrot and stick approach, and I'm not being some wet wishy-washy liberal on this, give them a carrot and stick, give them a chance. Did you actually know half of them have got mental health problems, those who've been in prison? Half of them have got no qualifications, practical or educational at all. A quarter of them have been in care when they were children. Now, this system is not fit for purpose. It's got to be changed. And what I want to do is have some pilot projects here in Suffolk. I'm setting up a fund to do that. If I'm re-elected, we will make a difference. We've got about 80 prisoners a year who go back into the community here in Suffolk. There's a lot more to do on domestic abuse. We'll maintain the Crime Disorder and Reduction Grant to support the voluntary sector, an exciting programme for cadets. If you give youngsters a chance in life, they will flourish. And it's up to us to do what we can to support them, as well as making sure, of course, that the constabulary has got the right equipment and the right training for the changing pattern of crime that I've already mentioned. So there's a very, very exciting programme, and I would love to have that extra 4 years to carry on with that work, not of police reform in a negative way, but in a positive way, so that our guys and girls out there on the front line are really, really well equipped, even better trained, and we can continue to make Suffolk a fantastic county and one of the safest places in the country to live, work, travel and invest.